Louie C. the Mayor checking in. What is going on, my people, man? I'm going to tell you, boy, we going in it to win it. Another fabulous, beautiful, outstanding, wonderful day in paradise. Unfortunately, we still in the movie. The good news is we're almost getting out of the movie slowly but surely. Shout out to FloridaKeysEnergy.com. Lawyers for all accidents in the Keys. For example, if you get hit on a moped, you get in an accident in a car or in a bicycle, you got to take care of yourself, and the people that will take care of you is these boys. They local. FloridaKeysEnergy.com, 302 Southern Street. And my number one doctor in the world, above and beyond planets and aliens and the whole 9 yards, that boy Dr. Burrows from Advanced Urgent Care Key West, Marathon, and Key Largo. So we got a great plan coming up. He'll be on the program tomorrow. We got that new $89 health plan, affordable, finally came to the Keys. The word affordable is tough in the Keys, but affordable health plan. So that's going to be outstanding. Tonight, you know, we all the way lit, all the way live, 7 o'clock. Right after this, go to WOW 927 FM. We going in. Shout out to DJ Slice in Philadelphia, DOS New York City, DJ Jack, Marathon Dolphin Stand Up, CO Episcopal 305, Dade County. So we're going to go into 9 o'clock. And for those of y'all tuning in worldwide, go to iHeartRadio. Notifications, the notification button right here. Bam, bam, bam. And those of y'all watching on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can let y'all know what's going on around the world. So right here you see this young lady, Miss Spring Rice, is one of my favorite females all time. She used to get me out of a lot of hot water back in the day. We're going to talk about that. So Spring, for the people out here that don't know anything whatsoever about you, please tell them about spring training. This ain't the spring training with the Marlins. It's a whole different spring training. So let them know about you and a little bit about yourself right there on that camera.
Thank you, Louie. As I always say, spring training, it's not just for baseball. So spring training is training and seminars. I specialize in alcohol compliance training, food handler training, food manager training, and also I do licensing for alcoholic beverage licensing and hotels and restaurant licensing. And with that comes with consulting for all of my clients.
Got you. Okay, so that is outstanding. And let me ask you a quick question. So how do you keep liquor and food establishments in compliance to make sure everything's 100%? How do you make that happen?
Well, first of all, the training, and before that starts, so they have to have a license. That's most important. So a big part of spring training is providing the licensing services. And once they have that license, there are several in the hospitality industry, there are several trainings that are mandatory. There is the food manager training that is mandatory and the employee food handler training that's mandatory. And then there's also the alcohol compliance training for the establishment, to keep the establishment in compliance, to help with insurance discounts for the establishments. And, you know, training is the best defense in the event of lawsuits and all of that. So training is so important.
Gotcha. Okay, so that is outstanding. So I know you very well connected because you've been around here a long time, and I see you made some moves out there with your connection and the lobbying efforts, and you got the bars open in the Florida Keys. So you must be all right with Ron DeSantis. So tomorrow the bars opening is very exciting.
Very exciting.
Okay.
I was thrilled when I heard the news, and I know so many of my clients and friends and the bar owners, and it's really big news and really important to get the places open. So
yes,
that's going to be a big day tomorrow.
We haven't worked since March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and you know, so many people are out of work, and I'm glad to see that, you know, we're back open. It's going to be a lot of fun, and please be nice to tourists. I mean, we live and die by tourism down here. Be nice to people in general, because you know we're in some you know, serious times in here that we've never seen in the history of living. And it is very rough out there, so we need people to really be nice to people. Also, we're going to be taking in some questions. Anybody got any questions whatsoever pertaining to food training and alcohol, you could go ahead and ask them. A lot of people don't know, Spring, that a license as well in the excess of over $500,000 for the 6 COP license is very expensive. We've been holding that price for quite a long time.
Yes, and you know, once an establishment gets that license, it is so important to keep that license because it can be easily suspended or revoked. And certainly an establishment that pays a lot of money for a license like that, they don't want to have that taken away. So it's important to do the right thing, know the laws, the local ordinances, not sell alcohol to minors. We're in the business of selling and serving alcohol.
Right.
And
responsibly.
Absolutely, and that's the key thing, is selling and serving responsibly. And that's what the training program that I provide focuses on.
Okay. Make sure y'all hit your notifications right here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just hit the button that's right here, and we're going to make sure we keep giving you information. We on the podcast Monday through Friday, 6:45. So Spring on the Louie C. the Mayor podcast, we call it blood raw. So we keep things for real. So I don't want you to sugarcoat this stuff, okay? So there's a lot of injustice that's been going on around the world, and I believe people need to stand up for injustice. I mean, any type of injustice based on what's going on now, you really cannot go with the crowd. If you have 7 people and 6 people are having an injustice, in my opinion, you need to step up and go against the crime. For example, with police, if a colleague or work or anybody that's doing something that is just absolutely unacceptable, you must step in. These are the times that we live in. And like I said, we got to vote or die in 2020 because there's people actually dying out there. Is very important. So back in the day, I wasn't always good with City Hall, and I was not always the mayor, right? I used to be on the opposite side of the mayor. I used to be on the opposite side of police, and basically they would come after me heavy. So I'm gonna tell you a little story of what used to happen. So we was 623 Duval Street at the Epic, 7 bars, 2-level nightclub with about 1,000 people on a regular Saturday in there. So long story short, what would happen is the police will have their briefings. They have a briefing before they hit the street. So the 11 o'clock briefing will come in and they'll go over, what's going on in Key West, and we're gonna, do some more enforcement over here, and we need to crack down on this and that, right? So what would happen is that before they hit the street, they would say, okay, well, let's take a walk through the good old Epic. And they'll march 9 police, not 7, not 6, 5, 9 at one time inside the club. So we used to go through major battles in there because I felt that I was singled out. We had everybody in there. We was playing very rowdy music. We had Bahama Village, Stock Island, Tourists. This was on the highlight of house music, so it was a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was
very loud.
Yeah, it was crazy. So Spring, please tell these people. I used to talk to her every day. I was in some type of fire or whatever, but she'll tell you the facts. So Spring, just elaborate on that a little bit if you don't mind.
Well, it's exactly what you just said. It's the way it was too, and it was always something with loud music we had to get you out of or something like that. So, and you mentioned about officers coming in and so on, and those are the ones that you could visibly see. There was undercover compliance checks, and they still do those today.
Right.
And certainly you had your share of those as well. And we were always doing. But a big part of it, though, is we did training for you.
Right.
And Louie, you always wanted to do the right thing, and and train your staff, and that's what took place. And they were responsible in their serving practices, and that was most important, that we weren't over serving and so on.
And she's not saying this because she liked me. This is facts, because that whole time with all that enforcement, I'm talking about enforcement out of Key West coming in full throttle. They said, man, that man running a tight ship, and we because of her, what we did and what we planned. So if we're supposed to be at level 3 compliance, we shot for level 6 because we were definitely targeted and we wasn't holding back, and we was talking back to people. We were just not putting up with it. But this is in a good way. It's fighting for what you believe in and what's right or whatever. Bottom line is we never had a citation the whole time. Not one citation that we had.
Right. And, that's one thing that I remember, when I first met you too, Louie. You were always, wanting to do the right thing, and you would call me, and I was always getting phone calls. Like you said, we talked every day, and, I really admired that at being a licensee and, wanting to do the right thing, and that was really important. And that was definitely good.
Definitely was.
Good things, yes.
Like, for example, I mean, this thing, and I'm just going to elaborate this here quickly. It was so crazy that we had our own levels of dealing with stuff or whatever. So we said, all right, well, nobody's getting 9 police going into the establishment, the Sloppy Joes, or nobody out Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett, just us or whatever. So we would actually hit full throttle on smoke machines where you see how me and her are this close you couldn't even see each other. We would play the rowdiest music. We call that a cold red. That means that they coming through, and we would go battle to battle. But at the end of the day, we was in compliance. And, with good agents with the ABT that will come out there and they didn't bend the rules. They went right by the book. You're either in compliance or you're not. And they told her, I hate to tell y'all, this man is more tighter than anybody on the block, and he got 1,000 people in there, so I don't know what else y'all want us to do. So the moral of the story is you have to stand up for what you believe in. If you see an injustice, don't just hold back. You got to fight it, and you might have to, flex your muscles a little bit.
Sure. And the point that you're making there too, and if something, is not right, but I also, I was watching everything that was taking place and I just felt so terrible and, again, what was going on. And at the same time, there are so many law enforcement officers, both active duty and retired. I know, we have friends in the industry, family in the industry, and, they really do a good service. And I feel bad that they get marked as, like all officers are bad. And that is
right.
So unfair because they do such a great job to protect us. And, it's just really challenging times. And,
right.
It just because one officer, does
right.
something wrong or a couple officers do something wrong. And, we hear about that often.
Right.
But it doesn't make all of them bad. And, they're out there to protect us and to help us. And again, I know I have many friends that are, either active or retired law enforcement, same thing in my family. And I want to, thank them for protecting me, right. protecting our community and protecting our country.
And also, you have to be part of the solution and not the problem. Okay. So basically, because somebody did something wrong out of line, or an injustice, that don't mean that, like she said, every police is bad. Like Sheriff Rick Ramsey, #1 sheriff in the world and planners above and beyond. Sean Brandenburg, #1 police chief. We just had the rally the other day. Everything was absolutely spectacular with the rally, and the police actually walked with the people, and it was a mixture of people. This ain't about black and white, it's about wrong and right. You see, if you see wrong, act upon it, because you could save somebody's life. And if you are police or law enforcement and you see one of your colleagues doing something, tap them on the shoulder, because sometimes people don't know what it is to be in the zone. So they're not bad people, they just got caught up, they're all human being or whatever, and they might be on adrenaline 1,000,000%, so you got to kind of get them out of that. But for the most part, people are good and cops are good. You're always going to have a couple bad apples in the bunch or whatever. Okay, so Pamela, here we go. So we do this every time. So Miss Pamela, you see I got my mask here. I done told you that it's very hard to talk through the podcast or whatever through the mask, but it's right here. But getting into masks, I'm glad you brought that up. And please, if you have any questions whatsoever, liquor license, businesses, anything, please ask them right now. And before we get to the mask, Spring, where can they find you? On your website, and how do they find you if they want to be in contact with you?
Oh, certainly. My website is springtraining.online. I have a local office right here in Key West at 422 Fleming Street. My cell phone number, that is really the best way to reach me. I answer my phone, 305-509-1916. Again, 305-509-1916. My website, springtraining.online, and my email is spring@springtrainingcorp.com. I would love to hear from you.
And also now, Spring, you added this very important training to your company, which is the COVID requirements, and make sure you're in compliance because the game has changed. So you want to elaborate a little bit about that?
Certainly. Mandatory training in Florida is mandatory food handler training, mandatory food manager training. Currently, the CDC has only put out guidelines. They haven't actually said you have to teach specifically this in the course. I'm waiting to get that guidance. I think it's still all being determined. We still don't know everything as it happens, but certainly there's guidelines and there's recommendations. So with the alcohol training, we do those classes every 4 months. So I put a special segment into the triennial updates specifically about preventing COVID-19 and how hospitality workers can do certain tasks and stay safe, such as wearing their mask, washing their hands, proper use of the gloves.
Right.
So I added that in as a special segment right now.
Nice.
And certainly when I do the food handler and the food manager, I've been talking about that as well because it is so important.
Also, my favorite people in the service industry are bartenders. They work very hard. These people work for tips. And like I said, a lot of them, well, matter of fact, all of them haven't worked since March 17th, most of them, because basically of the deal with the COVID. So if you want to be a bartender, you're starting out, please explain like you did with me, and I thank you so much for guiding me through the trenches, because I went on trenches. So this stuff is light work what we got going on. Now we can do this with our eyes closed, but it's still very serious because somebody leaves a bar and gets in an accident and you overserve, is a big problem. So bottom line, what would you tell a bartender when it comes to IDs? If you listen to what this lady tell you, you won't have a problem ever. I don't care who comes in there and checks you. You want to tell them what's the best way to do it?
Thank you. I appreciate those compliments. Very nice. And so, the most important thing is going with the basics. First of all, we recommend in the training to always ID someone that does not look at least 30 years of age.
Gotcha.
I personally started bartending when I was age 18, and I had absolutely no experience. And I remember myself, I attended an alcohol compliance training, again, back when I was 18, and I remember learning that I could be arrested and pay fines and go to jail, and there was no way I was going to let that happen. So I decided right then, and I still use it as my guideline today, and I teach this in my classes, I recommend that if they do not look at least like your grandmother or your grandfather, check their ID. Right. Or whenever in doubt, check their ID. But the guideline that we go with is at least the age of 30, not less than that. Some bartenders think the age of 40, 45, but just not less than 30. It leaves you 9 years.
You brought a good point. A lot of people don't know you could bartend at 18.
Yes.
Explain that to them, because a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
They think it's funny because you got to be 21 to drink, but you could actually bartend at 18.
Correct.
You want to touch on that?
Correct. You have to be 21 years of age to purchase, possess, or consume an alcoholic beverage. However, yes, you can work behind the bar at age 18
That's crazy,
in the state of Florida.
That's crazy, but that's the law.
Yes.
That's the way it's written, or whatever.
Now, establishments can have their own house policy. Right. If they choose to only hire servers or employees 21 and over, they can do that. But the state law is age 18.
So see, where I come from is when you have people that are experts on subjects, you need to be quiet, shut your mouth and listen, and you'll be better for it. That's how you win championships or whatever. So me, if engineering come, I know some stuff about engineering, but I'm going to send them to the engineering department because they know better than me or whatever. Even though I might be the CEO, you got to get a team around you. So basically, if you don't play with alcohol, like for example on a boat, I don't go out with too many people on a boat because my captain's got to be for real. I mean, it ain't gonna be like they're taking a sip of beer. You're gonna be a captain, and that's your job, because that water is a whole different level. And out here, if you see somebody, for example, let's talk about security, because right now we live in crazy times too with the security concerns, terrorism. For example, we go above and beyond. We don't play with security in any which way, shape, or form. So, for example, major events, we have people won. If you go into the club, you get won. If you go in and out 8 times, you will be won 8 times. This is how it's supposed to go. If we know you will, since you was in 2nd grade, we won you 2 for customer service, because another person might come up and say, well, why didn't they won me? So to avoid that foolishness, we won everybody, black, blue, orange, green, it don't matter who it is. And we have one person that basically is on the lookout for anything that is disturbing, that might be a problem, because you're playing with your life here, especially with terrorism or just people that are completely crazy, and they go, how many mass shootings we had in entertainment venues or whatever. So it could happen in Key West, and people let their guard down in Key West. And I'm pretty sure you teach it. You can't let your guard down in Key West.
You cannot. You can never let your guard down. And I do teach that in the classes. And we talk about, knowing who's in your facility and paying attention. And if something doesn't feel right, talking, seem right, talk to a manager, supervisor, let them know. And you can never go wrong doing that. And sometimes it's just getting that gut feeling too, that something just doesn't seem right, something's a little off. But yes, paying attention to that, knowing who's in the establishment, just really watching and paying attention.
I could be here all day, but I'll touch on one that's recent. So we was in the middle of the poker run, and I walked, like Miss Spring is saying, I walked in the club, and I felt the tension. I'm from the street. I feel tension right away. So I always say, okay, well, maybe just me, over thinking it or whatever. But when I came the second time to that same area, I said, oh, for sure, this is a tension. So I talked to one of the DJs that was down, and I said, man, what's going on with these people back here? Because they really tense back here. And this, we're in the middle of the poker run. And what happened is they had a problem with a DJ that was working for us that opened the night up. And they said that person disrespected our group, and he disrespected a girl that belongs to our group. So I said, okay, well, we're going to take care of this right now immediately, because this is a huge problem. So what I did is, I said, my man, I said, I don't know what you did with this girl, because, it said something about a text or something. You will apologize to these people or whatever, because we're not equipped to handle this type of situation with one of these groups that come in for bike week. Nobody is really equipped to handle that if it really gets out of control. I don't care what security got. But what I did is, before I even got to that part, I sent one of my security guys to the 200 block to get uniform officers for presence to do a walkthrough in case somebody was thinking of doing something. They could see, wow, these people are really doing it. And they probably was casing the stuff, but we didn't have a problem. And this is the steps that you have to take. When in doubt, act.
Exactly. And I get questions a lot in my classes about this, and prevention is key. Again, we're in the business of selling and serving alcohol, but it's doing it responsibly and just preventing the intoxication. And if you see, maybe two people, starting to not get along, or they're starting to argue, don't wait before it's blown out of proportion. Let your managers know, get the security on that, and just paying attention to it. And the prevention is the key. And I get a lot of questions about that in my classes, and, paying attention and trying to, keep it from happening in the beginning.
I took business law in college and in high school, so I want to know what the law is. I know exactly what the law is, and sometimes I know it more than people that actually should know it better than me. And Spring will tell you, I might ask her 14 questions to this day about something, because, especially when the governor brings something down, it's got to be clear, because you have to know. You can't go to battle with something if you don't know the information 1,000,000%. So we could be here. I learned from the best. Spring training. Make sure anybody nationwide and Key West, if you ain't got spring training, this ain't the baseball part. You need to look it up right now on Facebook and make sure you reach out to Miss Spring to make sure you're in compliance 1,000,000%. One day of training is going to get you better than anything you've done. But let me just touch on this. Like I said, I could be out here to next Christmas. So never try to put hands on people unless you have to. Okay, so all this stuff about what I call Hulk Hogan stuff, we're going to throw somebody head first. That is going to cause you what? Lawsuits, problems, headaches, and it's just not worth it. So when you're dealing with a situation, what you want to do is try to have compliance with the person without putting hands on them to come out there. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm pretty sure T teaches it. You're in the club and you say, sir, you had a problem here. We need you to leave. And that person gives you a full-fledged cursing. I ain't going to goddamn place, this and that. So back in the Western days, and in the cowboy day, they pick you up and they throw you straight out of the bar or whatever. In the Wild Wild West, we ain't in the Wild Wild West no more. We're trying to be civilized. All you have to do is, the way I would handle this, you tell me if I miss anything, is I would call uniform to come out. I would say, that person in the blue, I need them to be removed here because of this or whatever, and then let the uniform officer deal with that. Because if he turned up on that officer, they got powers that they could deal with it, and probably most of the time, 99% with a uniform is going to resolve that problem. Now, if we try to get him out and grab the person from the hand, he might punch you in the mouth. Y'all don't get paid enough money for that. So, did I miss anything on that part?
No, you're right on, Louie. You do. You know this stuff, and that's exactly. And it's better to, address the situation than before it escalates and gets out of hand.
If you have a physical, when you're in a physical, there's no way around it. But you don't have to go to chemistry. If there's two people in a physical confrontation, move one right, one move left. So if you have to put them in a liquor room To remove them, the person can't fight by himself. He fighting with somebody else. So if you remove two, you got to go one this way and one that way, and that's all you got to do immediately. And never, and I'm just going to end with this, never, ever turn down any music in the middle of when there's altercation. I don't care if there's 4 people fighting, unless there's a severe thing with a shooting or stabbing, because what happens is, when you turn that music down, if you have, let's say, 3,000 square feet, 5,000, 6,000 square feet area, everybody's going to stop, look, and then, oh, there's my cousin. He's having a problem. I'll go over. Next thing you got 20 people involved. All you need to do is say security to the bar, keep playing music. If you don't get security to the back door, and keep saying that, keep playing music until they deal with that and don't draw attention to that. But I've seen that so many times, and a mistake when people actually bring the music. I don't know if that's ever came up, but that's an important one.
It is, and that's where your DJ experience, that's really a good point that you made there. And so Florida Statute 56251 actually says that you have the right to eject anyone from your premise that you find undesirable or objectionable, as long as you are not discriminating against their race, religion, sex, national origin, disability, sexual preferences. So if it looks like a fight is going to break out, like they're starting to, or even trying to buy drinks for underage people in the location, they have the right to ask them to leave. They as long as they're not discriminating, an establishment has the right to do so. But there are times, as you indicated, you may just want to get law enforcement to do that. So and they licensees, and which I teach in the classes also, for the servers and bartenders and security, anyone that is on the licensed premise, the establishment is responsible for them when they're on that premises. So they'll say, well, we didn't serve them any alcohol. They already came into the establishment and had already been drinking and already had too much. And so I teach, again, prevention. And that's why I like to have all security personnel attend my training as well.
Security is critical.
Right, and they can, maybe refuse entry into the establishment ahead of time, so that intoxicated person that, normally would be coming in and maybe starting that fight, if we already stop them from coming in because they've had too much to drink in the first place, again, we can prevent a lot of these problems from happening.
And documentation, because there's crazy people out there. They say something happened, and no thing happened, like somebody fell somewhere. We've seen all this frivolous stuff that happens. So cameras are critical.
Yes, cameras, but also documentation. I am old-fashioned when it comes to getting just a simple 99-cent spiral notebook, something that pages just can't be, inserted and taken away, but like a spiral notebook. And just keep a daily log at your establishment, or as incidents happen, and you know the date, the time. You may not even know the person, their name, but you remember what they look like. They were wearing an orange hat and orange shirt and sunglasses, and you document those actions of what you did to be responsible. We didn't sell him any alcohol, so.
and like I said, we could be out here to next Christmas on this, but let me tell you what the young lady just said, Miss Spring. So what happened is, I'm a owner, right, and I get a call and it said, oh, well, my nephew was in there, and he was underage, or he was involved in a problem, right? So what's supposed to be happening, for those of y'all that are not tight on the spring break protocol for training, I'm gonna tell you exactly what to do. This is on the house for free, okay? So what you want to do is, what she said is a security log. So all I got to do is go on the security log and look up the date, because at the end, what the head of security is supposed to be doing is log what happened that evening. We had to eject this patron because it was, he was stumbling or whatever the prayer, or we had an incident over here by the bar, and that's documented. So in case something does happen, that helps you or whatever. So, that's 100,000,000%. You should have logs on that, especially the head of security, and you have to enforce that or whatever. And a lot of people will go out, they send them out, they don't really get the training, and then it costs you hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Right, and that's why the training is so important, and part of the training is the record keeping, and there's certain documents under the Florida's Responsible Vendor Act, an actual form that they fill out, and then there's a sign-in sheet. We have them sign in, and I'm always saying, don't sign in for anyone else. That's your signature on that sign-in sheet, showing that you attended this course and this is what we learned in the course. And 100%. Again, training is the best defense that establishments can have.
I want to shout out a couple people here coming in. What's up, Ashley? I see you. Mr. Gates, you tell it like it is, right or wrong. That's the only way we know how to do it. We old school. In the new school, whatever, we're going to make sure we keep it 100% blood raw. Pamela already asked me about the mask. We're in compliance.
We have our masks.
We are. Lydia Blanco, she is a homecoming queen there, 1986, checking in. And Pamela, I got the mask out here. I'm doing the best I can. I really am. And the last thing I want to touch on, I see you did it big where you're on Channel 4 for unemployment.
NBC6.
NBC6, yeah.
They did.
So that was great. So tell me about that, because I was watching the TV. I said, that spring is big time. I told you spring got a lot of connections. So you had an issue with unemployment like many people are having. So just tell them briefly what happened there.
Yeah, so, just the entire pandemic, it was a big surprise for all of us. And all of a sudden we found all of our, we were just out of work. When the hospitality industry shuts down, I shut down as well. When they're not working, I'm not working. And, what do? You don't have income coming in. So there is the state unemployment, which is known as RA, regular unemployment benefits. But there's also, if there's a hurricane and self-employed,
Right.
1099 workers can apply for, it would be under a disaster DUA unemployment.
Right.
So it basically mirrors the state benefits. But
is
now
that a
with
separate area department that you go to? Like when you do it on, like when you apply, is it different than the regular unemployment?
Well, it shouldn't be, but it is.
It is, really?
So right. Well,
it is right now still?
It's not a separate website, but it's a separate application that you have to go through. It's actually, I did everything the way it was supposed to be done. Okay, so there's regular unemployment, which some people are getting.
Right.
If you are self-employed like myself, 1099 gig workers they're called, under the pandemic, they're calling it PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. If
Really?
It was a hurricane. And I want to mention that because I know when Irma came through, and I was familiar with this because when Irma first came through, when that all happened, I actually applied and was granted the DUA, the disaster unemployment. So now when the pandemic came out, the PUA, a lot of self-employed out there didn't realize that they were actually eligible. Right. So if you're listening and you're self-employed and you think you are not eligible for the time that you lost, you weren't working, you need to apply. So, but the system, the way it works is they first have to qualify or disqualify you for regular unemployment benefits.
Okay, can I ask a quick question?
Okay.
So when you go to the regular application,
yes,
you have to start there.
Yes.
And then you might get denied there.
Right, but it marks you ineligible. And what happened is the system was just overloaded with, obviously, the numbers that were applying for this. But there was no one to answer your questions. It was just marked ineligible. And we were already, everyone, tense and not knowing and the uncertainty of everything that's going on. And you get ineligible on your screen and you basically panic. And I even, knowing from the disaster unemployment, I
Right.
knew how the system, how it worked, that ineligible wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But I even questioned it because I'm like, I don't know what's really going to happen here. And you couldn't get through to an agent. There was nothing on the website to say, what that means. And that caused much more
if you're self-employed, y'all really
confusion.
need to be listening right now. I mean, because I'm telling you right now, I know a lot of these people, obviously, and there's millions of people who have no idea still, because I wasn't even clear on this. I'm just getting clarification now, but now I'm gonna learn the thing from top to bottom. So once again, once you get ineligible, you got to go to the next step.
Right, you go to the next step. Now, somehow in the system, if you applied prior to April 5th, you had to apply again. So I actually had to go through just the normal process, 3 applications. I submitted
3 times on the regular one?
Twice on the regular,
right.
And then they gave me the PUA link. So I first applied for regular unemployment, and I was deemed ineligible. But I immediately reapplied again, because again, I didn't have anyone to talk to. Right. I wasn't sure, so better safe than sorry. I went ahead and just put in another application.
Wow.
I waited 30 days, and I finally was able to get through to someone, and that was after contacting state reps. I actually was able in the very beginning to get an email directly. I contacted Jonathan Satter, who was heading up the DEO and the unemployment. So
he's
I was
head of the unemployment,
and he actually answered my emails. So
that was nice.
it was great. It was really nice, and he had put me in touch with one of the representatives in the escalated claims department. And I want to say, once you're at escalated claims, they are very, very helpful.
Gotcha.
But up until that point, it's a complete disaster. And it's not fair that my email was answered, and because I'm in touch with Jonathan Satter, I now have contact with escalated claims, and my claim is getting pushed through. That's not fair to everybody else, but that's basically what happened. And on top of it, I'm on the news and talking, and it almost was like the person who hollers the loudest, Well,
and you gotta stand up for what you believe.
Exactly, but it shouldn't be like that. The system shouldn't be like that. But finally, I got my PUA link for pandemic unemployment assistance, and then the process there, and it has not been easy.
Would you be kosher if somebody wanted to reach out through you, Facebook or whatever, and have a question or whatever? Can they call you? Because I know a lot of our people are hurting, and I think that this is a good education that owners should know this or whatever, so they can help their people. So I just want to spit this back to you real quick so we can get out of here. So you must first apply the regular, even now, to the regular unemployment. If you decline ineligible, then you can't go straight to the second application. You must go through the first one. Still right this date?
Right. To my knowledge, you have to apply where it says new claimants. You apply there for regular unemployment. But you most likely, when it'll happen, I don't know, you will get deemed ineligible. Then they should be giving you, based on the situation, but like if you're self-employed, you should get what they call a PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance link. And that puts you through to the PUA application, which even though I submitted mine, I was never able to complete it. Escalated Claims actually had to complete my application for me.
Is that complicated?
Because, well, it wasn't that it was that complicated. The system wasn't working. As the
whole
governor
thing shut
said,
down,
it was a clunker, and they had to send my application to IT. Escalated Claims couldn't even process it. So it was really tough. The system is just not equipped, and so many people, so many Floridians are suffering because of this, and it's really, really unfortunate.
And then, so when you apply, obviously you applied as self-employed.
Yes.
That's how you did. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I learned that too, and I think now that we know this, all of y'all, everybody out here, you're gonna get this word out. This is critical. That if you were ineligible or declined, you need to go with the link, and I'm gonna get the link from her, and I'm gonna put it on here, and I'm gonna put a post stating that if you're self-employed, and you got denied for unemployment, you can go through this link and refile what you should do.
Right, they should reapply and get that, and the DEO sends you a PUA link on your claimant page. Please, if anyone has questions, please reach out to me. I have actually, there's always a rainbow after the storm. There's sunshine in the storm, and I have very fortunate, and I hope they're watching, from Michael Freese down here. I never knew him before the pandemic. He was very helpful with me, actually.
And who is
he has a photography business here in Key West. He'd be good to have on your show, too. We should have Michael show up for you.
One human family.
Carol's out there. Cricket is watching, I'm hoping. I met another manager server. Maybe she's watching right now. She is out of Orlando.
I like that.
Her name is Dana.
Dana?
Yeah, she was months. Like, she just had absolutely, no connection to the DEO. Her claim was just spinning for almost 2 months. She had no money coming in. She couldn't even, buy, her basic needs that she needed, for self-care. And I was reading her post on Facebook, and my heart was just bleeding for her. And I actually contacted her, and I said, please, I think I can help you. And, she reached out to me. I got her information. And yes, I was able to put her in touch again, with the right people at DEO. So if I can help, I don't know who I can help. And if it, if it's something that I can help with, I want to. So please reach out. I will do my best. Obviously, I can't promise it, but I do know some of the people that I have been in touch with. And there was about a group of 20 of us here in the Keys that we were on an email chain with Jonathan Satter. And in the beginning, too, leave it to me to dissect the wording and everything. And in the beginning, the CARES Act that came out, the wording on the DEO website in the state of Florida was wrong. They were stating that the PUA benefit was your $600 a week, and it's called FPUC, Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation. That is the $600.
Really?
And the state of Florida had that wrong. So I right away just emailed Jonathan Satter and told him that
Where's this guy, Jonathan? Where is he, in Tallahassee?
I believe his office is in Tallahassee. And again, I was very fortunate that I will say
I'll
immediately...
I'll say this for you. So my man John, my name is Louie C. If you don't know, ask somebody about me. If you ain't put this girl on your team on a consultant already, I don't know what y'all doing out there, because if a citizen basically could spot this and go to this level, you know how she doing it. Only big. That's the way she's doing. And this is incredible. Not only did you helped, for yourself, you helped other people or whatever. And I really find it impressive that some man in that position, actually with the millions of headaches that man got going on, answered an email.
He did.
So if you ever run for office, you got my vote, and I'm glad that you did well. And Spring, you did a great deed for the people. And Spring Training on Facebook. And what's the website again?
Springtraining.online.
Okay, and the phone number once again?
305-509-1916.
So we talked about some serious stuff, but right now, we on the radio. This is how we do it. We do two things at a time. So right now, all of y'all, if you're on the phone right now, iHeartRadio, Wild 92.7, go ahead and come on in, because we're about to turn up. And if you ride in the car, go ahead and put it on 92.7. Get in there, because we're going to have some fun. We're on to 9 o'clock. All love. Shout out to FloridaKeysNG.com. Lawyers for all accidents in the Keys. Cars, mopeds, and bicycles. And Dr. B, #1 doctor worldwide and planets above and beyond. Advanced Urgent Care, Key West Marathon, and Key Largo. This gentleman here, see, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, right? You know, have the credits. You ever watch a movie, you got to give credits around here. So Anthony Collazo on the production, doing it big. #1 photographer. And Tangela Edwards. Tangela been on it 24/7, 365. We trying to catch up with P. Diddy. Holla!